leaving a good paying job is like jumping out of a perfectly good airplane. But you do it because, not only because you're a thrill seeker, it's because you want something more. My name is Charlie McCarrick. I'm the president and founder of Microant, which stands for Microwave Antennas. I'm also the chief scientist, which means I'm involved in a lot of the technical design. And recently I wrote a book called Lessons My Brothers Taught Me: How to Transform Your Personal Qualities into a Successful Business. I think the people I see reading the book are the entrepreneur or the would-be entrepreneur looking to start a business, but they have no formal training. And because of the lack of formal training, they're afraid to take that first step of going into business. And people already in executive positions in many companies, as well as people in a leadership role in a company. For a couple of things, it will help them to reflect on their own experiences. I think they'll find it amusing and it'll give them a good laugh. I think it might also infect them a little bit on taking better, being more accountable to culture. You know, I didn't plan this ahead of time, but what I did was I thought about 20 different recollections, flashbacks of growing up and things that happened with my brothers, and realized that even those things were risky and dangerous and tricky and punishing at the time. There was a lesson to be had from them. But I'm going to give you one example, though, of electricity, because electricity played a large role in our household, if nothing less because I think that my family produced like 4 electrical engineers. My brother had discovered, my oldest brother Hank discovered, this was when I was really, really young, that if you had 2 pans on the hot plate and you stirred one pan, you were fine. If you stirred the other pan, you were fine. But if you touched both pans at the same time, 120 volts would go through your body and you'd be shocked and knocked down flat. So my brother Hank, being always wanting to teach his family this important thing, his way of teaching us was, hey Bill, grab that pan. Now grab that pan, and go, goes flying down and gets electrocuted. So Bill said, this is great. I can't wait to teach this to my younger brothers. But my brother Bill was very enterprising, and he learned that he could actually mobilize the electrical experiment, where he would get a wire, an extension cord, and he would take off the 2 wires and take the plug off, and you'd have 2 bare wires. And he'd hold it behind his hand, the 2 bare wires. And he'd say, come shake my hand. And you'd shake his hand, he'd close on those wires, and that current would run through you, and it was horrible. And you would never forget it. And down you'd go. And he'd be laughing the whole time. I mean, maybe he was being electrocuted. Maybe, his brain, it just didn't register. But it would pass on to you. So you would say, well, I'll bet you never did that twice. You'd be wrong. Because he was so creative. He said, Charlie, can you hand me that wrench? And I hand him the wrench, and right? He'd always find some way of disguising what was going on so that I would get shocked multiple times. So the thing is to beware, right? Is to have sensibility. My brother, Bill, to say, hey, shake my hand, right away, if I was other than 4 or 5 years old, maybe I would have said, there's something not right with this. And I might have questioned it, not stuck my hand out so quickly. And one of the biggest risks to business, particularly small businesses, is others taking advantage of them. And it happens all the time. And I don't care how much that company grows, they will continue to take advantage of you. And even now, my business being successful and have grown, I continue to have people will take advantage of us if we are not sensible to what is going on. Now, in the end, that transaction of getting my hand, that was between me and Bill. The electricity was just kind of an aside to it. But the point I make is that every transaction is between people. You could be talking about the largest brand billion-dollar company in the world, but the transaction becomes between people. Don't let it get mixed up or lost in some stack of conditions that have been drawn up by lawyers and accountants. That's not a transaction. In fact, what you want is something, a terms and condition on one sheet of paper that is easy to understand, that is not going to take advantage of you, because a stack of terms and conditions has one purpose, and that's to take advantage of the disadvantaged company. And that was the purpose of this lesson, is to always be aware, because every transaction is between people, so therefore know the person that you're transacting with. It's like trying to get somebody to follow a diet, right? They have to make that decision that they're going to do it. And even though if you give them a good diet and you show them what the results are going to be, that one critical decision that they have to make to change their lives can be really difficult, because you have, oh my gosh, this I'm going to have to give up for the rest of my life. It's the same thing with starting a business. You're giving up the security of a job and all the elements of running a business and the challenges and the risks. You don't have to worry about that as an employee. It's like leaving a good paying job is like jumping out of a perfectly good airplane. But you do it because, not only because you're a thrill seeker, is because you want something more. You want to challenge yourself. You want to take the risk. You want to grow. If more than anything else, you want to have control over your destiny. And those are the people I am really targeting in the end. And this would be as I said, the entry-level person into the ranks of entrepreneurship, starting a lawn mowing business, or starting a consulting business, or starting whatever business when it begins with just one or two people. I'm helping them to give them the courage and put the elements in place of taking that vital step of changing their life forever.